welcome to Chef Grace's place. Today I have a very special guest, Tasha from Tasty's Pastries. You can call her Puddin' if you want, I guess. But Tasha, sells delicious pudding. It reminds me of when I was a kid, banana pudding, and she sells it at the Tiki Market. So make sure you head out there. It's Sundays from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In Riviera Beach, Florida, on the marina. There's also a really nice shuttle to Peanut Island, which is an island that doesn't have any stores or anything on it. So you can go get your pudding, hop on the shuttle, and have your pudding on the beach. All right. So, Tasha, how'd you get into pudding?
Oh, so I'm first generation Haitian American, so pudding is not a thing that I grew up eating or anything like that. So in high school, I took a culinary class, the regular basic, they teach you how to cook and everything, and that was the first dessert they taught us how to make was banana pudding, and I fell in love with it. I was like, where has this been all my life? And I was just so super excited. So I used to just, make different versions of my banana pudding for like functions, for friends, like for my job. And, people just kept telling me, they're like, hey, you need to start selling this. And I was like, nah, I just enjoy doing it. And then I started doing different flavors. And my second flavor that I introduced was the peanut butter banana, because that's very nostalgic for me, because I grew up eating peanut butter and banana sandwiches. So I did that, and it just kept going from there. It's like, okay, coconut banana, now Nutella banana. And I just kept, combining it with a lot of popular banana combinations. And then, my niece, she hates bananas. So she's like, can you give me a flavor that doesn't have bananas? So that's when I launched the Oreo cookies and cream. And I have a few other flavors that don't have banana, like my pumpkin spice, which is seasonal. And my Jamaican spiked rum, which is very popular, and my brand new vegan Biscoff. That is my top seller. Surprisingly, I never thought my vegan pudding would be my top seller out of all my banana puddings.
Oh, it's because Biscoffs are addicting.
Yeah, absolutely delicious. Once I found out that was vegan, I was just like, sold.
So Oreos are vegan too, actually.
They are, but I was just a little nervous putting, everybody loves the original Oreo cookies and cream, so I didn't want to alter that, but I didn't want to put two of the same puddings head to head. So I had to think of something that was vegan and different, and also just creative. So that one, when I found out it was vegan, I was just like, I Googled like 3 other sites. I'm like, are you sure you're vegan? Because you're way too delicious. And I know there's that misconception that vegan things don't taste good. So I really wanted to like pack that punch. So it is a really good, it has the cookie butter and the cookie pieces inside, and it's made with pea milk. So I tried to stay away from nuts and soy and everything else. So I tried to make it as inclusive as possible.
Pea like
the legumes?
String bean?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right.
I don't know why I always do this every time I think of peas.
You're getting them off the string. That's
okay, thank you. Because I was peas. I'm just imagining like milking the peas, I guess. I don't know. But
you mentioned you had a culinary program in high school. Was it like a inclusive thing where you get like a certificate, or was it just kind of like a home ec?
Yeah, so originally it was just like a home ec. So there was level 1 and 2, level 1, you just, basic stuff, level 2, and then it just capped off. And it was my senior year, I was going into my senior year, and I petitioned to the school to create a level 3. So level 3, it was me, and I got to choose some of the people out of level 2. So I got, I had senior privilege. So most kids are like skipping and like sleeping in, and I just decided to pick up an extra class and compete against other schools. So it was kind of like Chopped before there was Chopped, and we would compete with other schools. They would give us ingredients, and we would just have 30 minutes to create whatever the item is or whatever. So that was really fun. And
did you watch the when I was in high school? What year did you graduate?
06.
Oh, six. All right. I
Yeah.
graduated oh nine. So I remember when I mean, this was before I was in high school. I was watching the Japanese version of the Iron
Yes, yes. I loved Iron Chef. I loved Good Eats. I was just upset. What got me obsessed with like cooking was the science behind it. So Good Eats was my intro to like, oh, it's not just throwing a bunch of things together. Because I would wake up every morning and watch my mom cook Haitian food, and like she would get up for work and she'd make dinner every day. So by the time we would get off of school, dinner would be ready. It would be on the stove, rice and all these other things. And it was just amazing. So I would just wake up, I would hear her in the kitchen. I'd wake up and just sit on the chair and just watch her cook. And I was just like, that's magic. Like every time I was like, I still watch her and I'm like, that's magic. And then growing up with this, dad is a chef. So my dad is a seafood chef. So watching him, like, working in restaurants with him and stuff like that. So I was just always surrounded by food. And then my parents owned a Haitian restaurant together in Lake Park where I grew up. So yeah, I've just always been surrounded by food, worked in the restaurants and everything. And I never thought that I would be like a chef or a baker. My major is marketing, and I went to school to be a teacher. I wanted to be a speech pathologist. So it was just kind of crazy. I just knew the underlying thing is I wanted to make people happy. And I didn't know how, but I wanted to be creative. And I guess, after graduating FAU, go Owls, after graduating FAU, I was just like, okay, what now? What are you going to do with this? Like, you have your degree, and I was like, all right, no more excuses. I'm not studying. So let's launch Tasty's Pastries.
How did you come up with a name?
So I always joke because I always tell people I put the T in tasty. So, so yeah, and obviously having a marketing background, it's a play on words. So yeah, Tasties, pastries. And the reason why I leave it as pastries and not puddings is because puddings is like niche. Like I love the fact that it's nostalgic. I love the fact that I really don't have any competition. I'm not really competing with ice cream or gelatos or cupcakes. I'm just my own thing. And so I want to do that, but eventually I'm working toward getting a storefront. And when I have that, that's when I'll launch the cookies and the cakes and everything else and the cupcakes. But right now I just want to stick with the puddings. So it's Tasty's Pastries, but this is the pudding line of Tasty's Pastries.
Okay. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, you always got to think ahead. So
That's smart.
thank you.
The,
Thank you.
yeah, I was thinking a lot about that. Because are you working within cottage law too, I guess?
Yeah.
So, because the one thing I was like, oh, darn it, is you can sell online, but you can't mail.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, darn it, because I would not even like show up to, honestly, I wouldn't show up to a farmer's market if I could just do everything online.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of people that are requesting for me to ship. The one thing about my puddings is you can also freeze them and eat them like ice cream. So that's one way that I can get around it, so it doesn't have to stay refrigerated. That's a perk. That's a perk. I could definitely say that, but it is difficult. Like just
I've
trying to make
never
sure
froze. I'm trying to think like,
frozen and banana pudding.
yeah, if you put that shit in a ice cream
Yeah,
machine,
I haven't put in an ice cream machine, but I did when I was in Publix. I saw that they have
like a pudding
banana.
pop.
Yeah, they have a banana flavored pudding, and then I see like banana pudding flavored cereal. It's just like it's going crazy. Like, and I'm starting to see it like in more restaurants and stuff like that. You definitely see it in like southern restaurants where they have ribs and stuff like that. Sweet potato pie and everything, but it's just not. I don't know. It to me the original banana pudding has like a Cool Whip and vanilla wafers and all that stuff, and some people just it's not that. So yeah, I tell people I put my little tasty twist on it. So yeah.
Yeah, I have the one with the Reese's in it because I love
Yes.
peanut butter and banana. It's so good.
It's a bomb combination. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely love peanut butter and banana. definitely biased toward that.
So you were talking about growing up into a Haitian neighborhood before you started, and
Mhm.
I was like, wait, you gotta say more.
Let's wait on that one. Yes.
Um, so you're talking about a little bit about the culture shock, and I mean, I'm not super. I mean, I just had at the market. I just had the Haitian hot slaw, which is
Hmm.
delicious.
Pickles, yes. Oh my gosh. We put that on. Oh, yeah. A lot of fried stuff. It's delicious. So.
Yeah, we put it on a couple pulled pork sandwiches.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
like, my boyfriend is Dominican and he's like, I never even, they're my neighbors. I never had this before.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I just saw like on Instagram the other day that they made like Haitian tacos. So they fried pork and they put in taco shell and then they put slaw on top. And I was just like, oh, now I have to recreate that. So I'm always getting inspiration from everywhere. But yeah, like I grew up in Lake Park. It was yeah, it was a bit of a culture shock for me because um a lot of people like growing up, not growing up, but as an adult, people are surprised that I'm born and raised here. And I was just like, I grew up in a community where a lot of people were a first generation, so that they were all born and raised here. Like, a lot of people from my graduating class, I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school with, and they grew up in the same community that I did. So, being first generation was just normal. So yeah, when people were just like, oh, I came here from up north or wherever. I was like, really? Like that's different to me than being born and raised here. So it's kind of like a flip.
Yeah, I haven't met that many people that were born and raised here. It's a very like transient community. Um, but I think it's interesting too that you grew up in like a Haitian neighborhood, basically, sort of, but it was
Hmm.
Haitian. I grew
Yeah.
up in a Italian. We had like, I think it's because up north, um, because it's an older community, like
Hmm.
in regards of like settling, like before cars were invented,
Hmm.
that it's a lot easier. Like people mix more because you
Yeah.
can walk,
Hmm.
you can walk there, you can walk down
You're
here.
right.
So they have neighborhoods, but down here it almost feels a lot more segregated
Yeah.
because you have to, like even this, they have sidewalks, but it's like they try to make it almost like on purpose that you can't walk on them because they make sure
Yeah.
there's no shade. And then
Yeah.
the Florida sun is like super hot
Brutal.
and you will die.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And they have, people will it's like the sidewalk is really just a bike lane. Like,
Yeah. Pretty much.
so I thought that was really interesting when I came down because I hate driving. And that's one
Hmm.
of the things that I miss from up north is just being able to go explore other neighborhoods. Just
Yeah.
walking.
Yeah, I remember I went to Finland and because the previous job that I worked for prior to the pandemic was based out of Finland. So we went to the headquarters. It was a group of us. Yeah, it was super fun. And we went there. That was a major culture shock. I can definitely say that. I was definitely the only Haitian there. But it was a lot of fun. Yeah, like everybody was so inviting and everybody was really sweet. But one of the things that I noticed was like obviously the sidewalk to bicycle ratio, or like the car to bicycle ratio. And it's like, you think it's dangerous stepping onto the street. It is dangerous stepping into the bike lane there, because they were looking at me like I was a freaking idiot. And I was like, oh, I didn't like, because I'm just expecting just a sidewalk, but they move so fast. Like that's their mode of transportation. Like, one of the big bosses, like he would ride his bike to work. Like that was very common. Our CEO rode his bike to work. So it was a very common culture to just bike everywhere. So when they would come and visit us, they're like, oh, we're gonna go to lunch. And I'm like, oh, we're gonna jump in the car. And they're like, isn't anything walking distance? I'm like, in the sun? Are you crazy? No, nothing is walking distance in the sun. Versus them, they're like, oh, this place is right down the street. And I feel like they have like New York blocks. We're like, oh, it's down the street, and you're walking for like 20 minutes, and then you finally reach there. But to them, 20-minute walk is nothing. For us, I didn't wear 20-minute walking shoes. I wore office shoes, So it was just the whole that was a big difference because, to me, I'm like, you're taking 20 minutes to walk somewhere. I'm like, that's your lunch. But for them, they just had a different just culture. So, you got to relax and enjoy your lunch and then come back. And, it wasn't just like the hustle and bustle of how it is down here. It's like, you got to go, you got 30 minutes, you got to get back. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, before the pandemic, I was working as a flight attendant.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't
Oh,
been
that's
to
cool.
Finland yet, but I've been to Copenhagen. And there, especially when it comes to like the bike culture,
Mm-hmm.
same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait to go to Finland though. Hopefully,
Yeah.
I'll get to go. But and it's what really bothers me about it is that it doesn't have to be that way here. Like
Mm-hmm.
they could just build, even just having trees for shade. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Whereas instead of just the sun, like that would
Yeah.
it would make it so much more walkable. Um, but even here, like, when we talk about like food deserts of being
Mm-hmm.
able to get like fresh food, like I'm lucky that it's still like I think it's just over a mile to
Mm-hmm.
walk to the nearest grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine walking to the grocery store. I don't even like going in the grocery store at this point. I never thought I'd be one of those people that would do like pickup, like, curbside pickup. Cause I like picking my own fruits and picking my own, things and, checking out new things down, like on the aisle, like even seeing a new spice. I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't made any Mediterranean food and I have this Mediterranean spice. So, or like seeing a new cut of meat or not a new, but like, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what? I haven't,
Or that's on
done
sale.
it.
Like,
Yeah, that's on sale. So I'm like, I wonder what can what can I make with this? So like I do, obviously I bake, but I love savory. I love cooking. And, I challenge myself. I have my girlfriends and come over every Tuesday and we do a Taco Tuesday. So I try to do, and I love your margarita, the blue that changes with the acid. Definitely doing that. I'm gonna impress all the girls. Like they're gonna be so excited about that one. But yeah, I challenge myself. So each week I did the one that went famous, the barrio taco. It's the one that you dip in the
yeah.
Sorry if I butchered it. You guys don't hate me. Okay, it's not my native tongue. But yeah, those tacos. I've done the carnitas. I did, just all types. I've even done, vegan ones just to see if I could, master that. And yeah, so just any kind of meat. So yeah, I like going into the grocery store and having fun with it, just like I have fun with all my pudding flavors. Like I love, okay, what's coming up this season, for my strawberry pudding, I do that from January to March because that's strawberry season. Even though, like, you mentioned before in your previous podcast, like, yes, Florida, we have the festivals, but I feel like the best strawberries tend to be around that time for me. And I do love your strawberry washing video. I thought that was pretty cool too. Like they're like they don't need a shower, they need a bath. And, I thought that was cute. I was like, okay, I like that. But yeah, so I try to do things that are seasonal, and the same thing with, my cooking. I try to do things that are fun, popular, or, cheap. That's always fun, just to challenge yourself with that.
So yeah, that's so funny. I was just thinking about the strawberry thing because my like growing up, like I didn't know that. You know what I mean? I didn't know you had to wash strawberries like that.
Yeah.
My like first bakery job, I had this French chef, and
Oh.
he's like screamed at me like what?
Yeah.
Like he would just do that. He was like a tornado. He would come in, he would yell at you. He wouldn't explain what the problem was.
Yeah, no. We're not gonna communicate. We're just gonna be
Yeah,
vocal, but with no teaching lessons behind it.
exactly. And then but then like basically his she never got the credit of being the sous chef, but she basically was the running the show, you know.
Hmm.
And she was like, she taught me how to wash strawberries. And I was like, oh, this makes sense because we would do this actually might be good for you because
Hmm.
you could probably use pudding in it too. Although we used, classic fruit tart is pastry cream, but
Hmm.
pudding would work. Um, and banana pudding would work. But if you put the dirty strawberries in the pastry cream, then you'll
Hmm.
see the dirt will come out of the seeds because the sugar in the pastry cream will start to draw the juices out of the strawberry,
Oh,
even though it's
really?
fresh. But you'll see all the dirt on the pastry cream because it's soaking into it.
Mm.
So it's pretty important to wash your strawberries.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But and even like now that I don't know if it's just because I know, but if I eat one that's like I didn't wash it from the grocery store, like you could feel it. You can
The
feel the seeds in
grittiness.
your teeth, but you
Yeah.
can feel the sand because
Yeah,
it's
the gritty. Hmm.
yeah. But anyway,
No,
pudding.
it's yeah, no, it's very important. So obviously I love the strawberry banana, and it always makes me feel bad when people still request it. And I'm like, no, it's not strawberry season. Like I know you see them, but like it's not like I try to do things during the peak of when it's happening. It's like I mentioned,
Okay.
like the pumpkin spice. I do that during the fall, the eggnog, like people are asking for eggnog, and I'm like, I can't, there's no eggnog in the stores right now. But, eventually, toward the end of the year, I'll have eggnog. I'm still trying to figure out what my summer flavor might be. I've had butterscotch from the beginning. And no one really, like, I put Facebook polls out there to try and see what people want. I don't want to just make all the puddings that I like. So, I want, what do the people want? And they voted for the Jamaican rum spike this over the butterscotch.
Well,
But
butterscotch, like people associate butterscotch with grandmas. That's why.
yes, I thought the same thing. I was just like, I think that's what it is. Like people do ask for it, but it's I don't know if it's going to be as popular.
Do
And
they
the
have to like
vegan,
whisper it and pretend like they didn't ask for it because they're afraid of being
yeah, they're like they're
associated
going
with
to be
grandma?
judged. It's like it's okay, you're it's okay. You don't have to apply for AARP card. Like it's okay. You can like butterscotch. No one's gonna judge you. So I was thinking about butterscotch or maybe like a s'mores. Something like with marshmallows, graham
No,
crackers.
like summer campfire style.
Yes. So
Very cool.
especially for like the summer. You know what I mean? I was definitely thinking about something that was summery. It was supposed to be the rum, but the rum is like it's selling so well that I think I just might completely add it to my full time menu. And the same thing with the vegan. Like they're just outselling all my other puddings, so I'm pretty excited. I mean, who doesn't like rum? So it makes me want to do maybe some more, you know, boozy desserts. Maybe something tequila or something, vodka. I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out.
Are there any like Haitian flavors like you'd want to incorporate? Like
Um,
combination?
mangoes are very popular in Haitian culture. Um, the bad part is I'm not really a fan of mango, so don't hate me, you guys. First generation, okay, a first generation. But yeah, I grow mango trees in my backyard, so I think I'm just kind of like over the mangoes, this because when they would come in full bloom, they would like the air. You could literally taste it in the air because it was just so saturated and so sweet. They're so pungent, and I've just never really been a fan of it. But I would think mango if anything, because obviously I launched the Jamaican spectrum, so everybody just assumes I'm Jamaican, and I'm like, no, I just like rum. So,
Jamaican rum is
Jamaican rum
very strong.
and it's very well known. And obviously, I'm a marketing person, so you have to give people the feel. So like with the classic, one of the best compliments I get is this reminds me of my mother. This reminds me of my grandmother. With the peanut butter, or like when people are surprised to see all the flavors, they're just like, oh, I didn't even know you could do this. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you can experiment with food, you can obviously experiment with baking too. So, you know, it does take some fine tuning trying to figure out what works the best and you know what would be popular, because for me, I'm not really a fan of Nutella, but people love Nutella. And yeah, like, oh my gosh, they do. So it's just like, all right, I don't hate it. Like I'll eat it, but trust me, I will pick the Reese's or my coconut banana every time over. And the coconut banana, I did that because I'm lactose intolerant. So eating all the puddings, you know, tasting all the puddings. I can't eat them all, but tasting all the puddings, you know, obviously it gets to you. So I take, you know, lactose pills and stuff like that. So the coconut banana is made with coconut milk. So I love that one. I feel like that one kind of reminds me of my childhood again, too, because I grew up with coconut trees in my backyard. And, you know, my mom's just like, yeah, go grab a snack. Like, if you wanted a snack, just go cut down some sugar cane, you know, go eat a papaya, go, you know, like everything was, we had a whole garden of, you know, plantains and peas and, you know, you name it. So that was just how I grew up. Do I have a garden now? No, but my home, I'm in a townhouse now, but eventually, and I remember you talking about, you know, your garden and everything. And that is what I aspire to have, is like an herb garden and you know, my fruits and vegetables. And like, I definitely want to get to that point where I can grow everything.
Yeah, I mean, it saves a ton of money too.
It does. It does. When you're saying that, I was like, yes, it kills me to buy herbs. And it's just like, if I don't use it in enough time, you know, they're done. And I have to buy, you know, more fresh herbs. And, you know, dried herbs are okay, but like, there's nothing like fresh herbs a lot of times. So I definitely, you know.
And you can make your own dried herbs from your fresh herbs.
That's true. That's true.
I'm working on a video for that. I got a dehydrator.
Okay.
Christmas. I haven't used it yet. It's just my apartment is like, my kitchen is taking over my apartment, and
yeah.
My boyfriend is like, and I'm like, we need a house. Buy me a
house. Yeah. I'm literally to that point. Like, I did a video showing, you know, showing the fans like my shelving, and since then I had to buy more shelving because, you know, I have to buy in bulk at this point, because I remember when I first started, I made 12 puddings. And, you know, I was just like, all right, you know, let's see how this goes. And, you know, sold out, you know, it was friends, family, you know. And then I remember this one girl, her name is Hannah. She was my first customer that was from, like, you know, I made a post and I tagged a bunch of my friends on Facebook. And so no taste, like she didn't sample anything. She wasn't a personal friend. She wasn't a coworker. She, you know, reached out to me. She bought it. And me and her are still friends to this day. She's amazing. She's the one that introduced me to the Harold's Market where I exhibit. She introduced me to a few markets that I exhibit at the Tiki Market. She told me about
what other markets do you go to? You go to what is
yeah. So Harold's in Northwood. That's downtown Northwood. They have a market every second Saturday between 1:30 and 6:30, and the last Friday of every month between 6:30 and 10. And that's right on Northwood outside of Harold's Coffee Shop, Coffee Cafe, Coffee something. They sell coffee. Down the street from Juicy's vegan place, which I just tried. Absolutely amazing. Definitely need to check them out. So on Northwood, so that's, I'm there. What's that? The Rust Market, the Lake Park Rust Market. I was super excited about that. Like I told you, I was raised in Lake Park. So the Rust Market, like me exhibiting in my, you know, neighborhood was awesome. So that was every third Saturday of every month. They shut down for the season, but they'll be picking back up in fall because, like we mentioned before, it's super hot. So to exhibit, it's just not ideal, especially for a vendor like me that has ice, having to like buy and transport all that ice and try to keep it from melting because my display, my puddings like sit in ice. So yeah, that's a whole thing. And, you know, I have 2 refrigerators here. And, you know, I'm going to have to, you know, eventually buy more refrigeration to store all the ice ahead of time. And my cooler packs and, you know, Cool Whips and everything else. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And I feel like I'm outgrowing my space too. So yeah, eventually that's the goal. Like my dream house is to have like a double oven. I know like some people like, oh, I want like a walk-in shower or like a walk-in like closet. And I'm like, if I could have a double oven, like I know I made it. Like I know that sounds so silly, but that is just
I'll
something
send you
that.
some links for some real ovens. The one thing I don't like about Florida is everything is electric, but like
Mm-hmm,
every house you buy, it's electric, but they have
mm-hmm.
some really good convection electric ovens now. So,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I'm the same. But I want to get like the professional, like,
The
you
refrigerators,
know,
like the
ovens,
huge.
refrigerators, all of it.
Oh,
I
oh
just want
yeah.
my dream house is like, because so up north we have, basements. So
Mm-hmm, yep.
a lot, they call it a, what do they call it? It's always like the Italian house, but
Mm-hmm.
basically the basement, there's two kitchens. The basement's a kitchen, and
Right.
then that's like where they make everything. And then like it's almost like how people would have like a formal dining room and then like
Yes.
or like a formal living room, like sitting area that nobody ever
Mm-hmm,
sits in, and then
mm-hmm.
like the family room,
Yep.
like they have that, but like for their kitchen. So they would like make all the food in the basement,
Mm-hmm.
especially, oh, it's called a summer kitchen because the basement is cooler in the summer. But they would
Oh,
cook in the
okay.
basement and then bring everything up. But they would also have like the lauder with the to hang the sausages and all that other shit in the basement
Mm-hmm.
because it's cold.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, now even up there, there's been a couple years where like my friends' grandparents couldn't even make the sausages because it doesn't get cold enough.
Oh,
So the global warming is fucking it up.
yeah. I was gonna say that. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I see why.
yeah. But uh, but yeah, I would love to have that. So this way I could have like a professional kitchen with like a
uh,
3 compartment sink and everything.
yes. Oh my gosh. It's the simplest things for me. It's just like I saw this one thing on like Facebook. It was like this kitchen was designed by someone who didn't know how to cook, and like the I think when they opened up the refrigerator, it ran into like the oven, and it was just horrible the way it was designed. And I was like, no, like how? But it's not everybody cooks. I thank God I grew up in a cooking family, so like pretty much everybody cooks, and we love cooking. Like Thanksgiving and Christmas, I know some people are like, oh yeah, that's for like that's those are cooking holidays. Like that's just forget gifts. We don't even think about gifts for Christmas. Gifts are for the grandchildren. It is about what dish are you bringing. Like we have like a whole Excel spreadsheet, like who's bringing what. All right, and like it's awesome. Like we have like things in shaping dishes because there's so many people that come, and we have like to go boxes. Like it's cooking is an event for us, and it's actually interesting because although we are Haitian, we do cook American food on those holidays because I mean we're Haitian, we eat Haitian food all the time. So like it's our way of you know acknowledging the culture. We are Americans, so we do cook all American food, and it's so awesome because when am I ever gonna?
Oh, what do you? Because what I found interesting was
Mhm.
when I started dating Noel, I went over for Thanksgiving, and they're Dominican, but um, you know what? It's like every household has a different interpretation. Everyone, obviously, you have the turkey, but
Right.
like everything else is kind of like some. I feel like most people have mashed potatoes, but
Hmm.
everything else is like interpret up to interpretation. So I go over
Yes.
there and they had lasagna, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And we're like, I was like, "What do you? That's not what you make on Thanksgiving." Like in my house, it was always the turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, some kind of green, either like green beans. Um, my aunt would make this like sweet potato thing with marshmallows on top.
Yeah. Sweet potato casserole.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
I remember I didn't like it because it didn't make sense in my like
Yeah.
little brain that like
Yeah. You're
it's
like
for
it's
dinner, but it's really sweet. I don't get it.
I'm not gonna lie, the sweet potato always throws me off because it's just like I know you're starch, but you do dessert things. And like, I'm like, what do you, it's, it's, I don't know. It's one of those where it just throws me. I'm like, you're more of a dessert if you really think about it. And, obviously they have sweet potato pies and everything else.
Yeah.
So,
So what dishes would you make for Thanksgiving?
so the fact that my dad is a seafood chef, there's always seafood. Like, he does an amazing shrimp scampi. He'll do a seafood medley that just has like crabs and like, calamari and shrimp and just anything that is just it's awesome. So seafood base, and then of course we have baked macaroni and cheese, southern style. We'll have some type of greens. So we switch it up. We'll do either collard greens, which is my personal favorite, and green beans. We do mashed potatoes. My dad does all like the heavy dishes, so he'll do the major proteins like the ham, the turkey, and he'll do his seafood pasta. One sister, she has like the best mac and cheese, so she's assigned to mac and cheese. And we do like stuffing, cornbread, like all of. So it's more of a southern Thanksgiving, and then we'll try and incorporate like one new thing. It's like, all right, there was one time I think we did what was it? We did like guacamole, and it's just like, I know that sounds like different, but it's like, yeah, we're normally starving because like, we haven't eaten all day, so it's just like, yeah, like, okay, we need some appetizers. So it was something like that where it's like, okay, that's not typically what we would have, but let's do that. And we switch up the desserts. Like my niece will do like a no bake cheesecake, or brownies, cupcakes, whatever. So it's just always a fun time.
Snow
And
pudding on Thanksgiving?
yes, I started doing puddings on Thanksgiving, of course, because they're just like, hey, I mean, you're known for your pudding. So like, so obviously I ask, what the family wants, and then I'll do whatever that pudding is. For my sister's baby shower, I did the strawberry banana pudding because she's having a girl. So everything was all pink and cute. So that was really fun to do. I did them in the little mason jars and stuff like that. So yeah, I do caterings, I do events, obviously the green markets, and yeah, I'm actually talking with Whole Foods to try and get into one of their, try and get into the one at the outlet. So I'm super excited. Yeah, yeah.
That's the one I can walk to.
Oh, yay!
That's actually, it's very difficult to get into a supermarket.
It
So
is. It
best of
is.
luck with that.
Thank
Like,
you.
I hope you. I'm cheering for you.
Yeah. I'm speaking it into existence. Like that's
Yeah.
the goal. Like trying to be a nationwide brand. The end goal is to possibly be bought out by Nabisco or something like that, and get the royalties. Because for a long time I worked for the automotive industry, so I worked for the high end cars, Bentley, Rolls Royce, and everything. So you got to meet these millionaires, billionaires, one percenters. And one of the customers, she, those cookie, like, no, brownie brittle, that it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like, it's pretty much a brownie, but it's baked on a sheet pan and it's really thin and it's crispy. And, millionaire. Like, you know what I mean? Who would have thought, like the inventor of the pool noodle? Like, obviously it's not food, but I'm just saying, you
I
just
mean,
never
the pool
know.
noodle is, you could use that for so many different things.
So many things. I've seen it like used in garages. It's a multi-purpose thing, and it's just like, at the end of the day, like, who's to say that Tasty's pastries can't be that? And obviously there's the refrigerated puddings and in the grocery store. So it's like, my goal is to be in that section. My goal is to be in every grocery store,
Do you
be in
think you would
restaurants.
start with instead of a storefront, like a production kitchen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I normally tell people, so I have a Patreon page. It's Patreon hashtag or / pudding queen, pudding with no G, so pudding queen.
We'll make
And
sure we put all the links in the description so you
definitely,
can get the
definitely.
support. Patreon,
I
for people who don't know,
yes.
is a website that basically you can buy a membership, or you can like donate to someone's channel. Um, I have one, but I haven't figured out how to really set it up. So I gotta figure that part out. But basically, like, for instance, if you like this YouTube channel, you could go to Patreon and donate money. So then I could like invest in it and, you know, buy lights, get ingredients for stuff or whatever. But usually you add more content to that. Or,
Yes.
yeah. That
So,
was the thing. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do all this content and then actually have more content that would be worth paying for. You know what I mean?
right. Well, with Patreon, obviously you can have little clips. So like on your YouTube, like people can access the full video. So it's just like, you can kind of do like a little
I
tease.
like a trailer, like a
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, watch the full video and, you can subscribe that way. So right now I'm working on, doing the vlogging and, showing people the day in the life of, tea and, the grocery shopping, like, the grocery hauls and bringing everything, setting up, exhibiting. Thank God I have a supportive family and friends that help me out. So obviously my shirt says call me pudding, and then my niece, she helps me out sometimes. As long as her grades stay, up, she can help me. And same thing with my nephew. So she's Little Miss Puddin', and my nephew, his shirt says "Don't call me Puddin'," because he's because he's a teenager and he's just like, yeah, don't do that. So obviously on my Tasty Space page, you can subscribe, and there's different levels of membership. So you can do a one-time donation, you can do a $5 monthly donation. You can do a $50 monthly donation. With the $50, obviously you have access to content. You're helping me get to my pudding truck, which is my next goal. And you also get free Tasty's Pastries branded merchandise. So you'd get the t-shirts, you would get the hoodie, you'd get the bags and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, like obviously you're helping a small business grow. This is a one-woman operation. I'm grateful that I feel like the pandemic happened for a reason. And, I was taking Tasty's Pastries, after I graduated, I was just like, all right, baby steps. And then with the pandemic, I had to stop and reset. And I'm grateful that I didn't have a storefront or anything that I had to shut down. I'm grateful I didn't have a truck or any of that. So I was still small. I was still exhibiting with my coolers and dragging it. And at one point when I first started, it started growing, but I didn't know where to go. I didn't have the capital to get into markets because, obviously it costs money. And obviously, like, especially like West Palm Beach, the ones that are ran by the city, they're more expensive. They know that they have the foot traffic, so they charge that money. And it's just like, ooh, like that is a lot of money. I don't know if I'm making that much money or how many puddings do I have to sell to make that much money. And I was selling door to door in my neighborhood. I lived in an apartment complex, so I'm dragging my cooler up the steps, door to door, and it's you just never know. And I was getting more well known in the neighborhood, and then my friend Hannah, the one I met, she put me on, and she's like, yeah, you should try it out Northwood. I got a lot of exposure there, and then someone's like, you should try out Hannah's like, you should try out Tiki Market, and then I found out about. So I started joining more Facebook pages that are vendors in South Florida, and then they post events that are happening and stuff like that. So that really helped me, become more locally known. And obviously the ads as well, because people will see my brand before they're like, oh, your tea? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you're pudding? And I thought that was kind of funny. There's one time where I actually like geeked out. There was one customer, she had been following me on my social media, but every time every time it was time to come to the market, I would sell out before I could get there. And so of course, I do my whole elevator pitch, when people walk up, I'm like, hi, it's Tia from Tasty's Pastries, and I'm saying all that. And she's like, stop, I know who you are. And I'm like, you do? And she's like, yeah. And then, so of course, and so she started naming the puddings. So she knew it. And then at the end, I was like, of course it's tasty. And she was like repeating it with me. She's like, of course it's tasty. It's in the name. And she knows my tagline. Like, I feel like a celebrity. Like,
you're famous now. That's it.
I was like, all right, okay, I won't charge for appearances. But yeah, it made me feel so special because, one of the things that I saw this thing on Facebook, and it said, what if you could do what you wanted to do when you were a kid? Like, it's like your childhood dream. If you could still do that now, what would it be? And mine was to own an ice cream truck. And it's so crazy because the reason why I wanted to own an ice cream truck is I saw everybody's reaction when you would when they would hear the ice cream truck music. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't even have to see it. They would lose their freaking minds. The ice cream, like, you gotta grab all the change. You're like, is that a nickel or is that a quarter? Like, you're just like running because they look exactly the same when you're in a crisis. Okay, and getting ice cream is a crisis. So yeah, I just wanted that. I wanted to be that person where people would get so excited to see me. And obviously the truck is gonna allow me to fully reach that dream, but I feel like I get closer and closer to it. And that is really, really cool because people will hear my cooler, you know, because I roll into dealerships I deliver to, because I told you I'm from a dealership background. And I'll tell you like the backstory why like I chose them. But obviously working there for so long, you could see the dynamic there, and it's an ideal place to sell. So I would roll my cooler in, and I just see everybody turning their heads like, oh, pudding's here. And I'm like, it's the same reaction. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So I love the fact that, you know, I get to, you know, make people happy. That was what I wanted to go to, you know, that was my goal. That was my end goal, is to put smiles on people's faces. And I do that with Tasty's Pastries. So like, I'm just so grateful that, you know, I bring people back to their own childhood, or I help them, you know, like, you know, people who bring their kids. It's like, I might be that thing that they remember from their childhood, you know? So I don't know. It's a cool experience. It's a cool experience.
So how did you get into the automotive stuff?
Oh yeah. So I just applied for a receptionist job. And I was not like a car salesperson. I never thought I'd be like a closer. And obviously with your own business and you have to sell, you have to pitch, you have to close, you know, I never thought I would be that person. But what I realized is I can close anything that I believe in. And yeah, so I got into it. I was like a receptionist, and you know how most jobs are. It's like, oh, you know how to do that? Let's add this, let's add that. So I was pretty much doing a little bit of everything. I worked for sales, I worked for service, I did dispatching. And so there was this lady that would come in and she would sell flowers. And it was so genius because dealership is a male dominated place. So these guys would come home to their partners with flowers, and they would look like the best men in the world to their partners. Cause like, you thought of me, you bought me. No, this lady walked in and literally sold you flowers. Like, you would have never bought flowers off of work, like, you know, out of work and everything. So I just was like, they're sitting ducks. I thought that was that's the nicest way to say it, but
They are sitting ducks.
They're sitting ducks. And you know, I would watch them, and they would drink energy drinks, or they would get so stuck at the dealership, like they couldn't leave to go to lunch. They had to have the stuff delivered to them. And, you know, men tend to, you know, be more, they tend to splurge when it comes down to sweets. They tend to not be on diets as much as women. So it was just ideal. Like, I just kept, and I'm doing my homework at my desk, my marketing homework, you know, consumer behavior. And I'm just like, yeah, this looks like ideal. Like, I'm like, yeah, they tend to like sweets. They tend to splurge. They tend, you know, and I was like, and, you know, they're always going to be there, you know, like, and the hours for a dealership are pretty long. And, you know, if you do leave, you may miss a client or a customer. So it's like it's that, you know, having to stay there. Like, a lot of times the dealership would order pizza to make the salespeople stay. Like, you know, and not leave for lunch so everybody would be there. So I'm just like, yeah, if I just walk in with desserts, I don't think anybody's going to stop me. And I had the nickname at that dealership, Betty Crocker, because I would always bake and try out these recipes with them. And, you know, the puddings and all that stuff, or whatever. I would bake cookies and all that stuff. And, you know, I would just give it away for free. And yeah, they were kind of like my beta, like, you know, my guinea pigs. So yeah, but I did watch their techniques. I can say that. Although I never sold any cars, I would watch how they would close and how they wouldn't, you know, take no for an answer, or just try and negotiate. It's like, oh, you know, it's just, you know, and I tell people my little samples that I give out, that's a test drive. Because once you get in it, now you gotta buy. So so I definitely give out little samples. So that's
Well,
always cool.
especially at the markets, like just so people, people will do this thing where they're like, they just completely ignore you. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. They're
And
like,
so,
what?
like, if you don't have something to give them so you can hold their attention for
Hmm.
5 seconds, like, they're gonna walk right past you.
They are, because a lot of people don't want to feel like they're being sold at or sold to. They want to feel like you're helping them. So it's the science behind it. It's like, hey, come on, you want a free sample? Come on, it's nothing. And they're like, oh, calories. I'm like, weekend calories don't count. Like that's something I always say. Or they're like, oh well, and that was another reason how I developed all the flavors too, because you always run into someone who doesn't or is allergic to something. So it's like the classic, the coconut, it's like people are allergic to nuts. So it's like, okay, so no Reese's, no Nutella. And it's like, oh, I don't like bananas. Okay, well, I have cookies and cream. Oh, I'm dairy free. I'm vegan. Oh, don't worry, I have a vegan flavor for you. And like one lady, she was like, you're just not gonna allow me to say no, are you? Because she kept saying something. I was like, oh, that's no problem. She's like, well, I'm not going directly home. I was like, oh, I have these cooler bags for $2 and you can take it home and it keeps it cold for 3 hours. And she's like, well, I don't have any cash on me. I'm like, I take cash app, Zelle, Venmo, debit. Anything else? And she's like, anything else? And that's the saleswoman in me. I can say that because yeah, it just showed me. It's just like, all right. And some people are just like, no, thank you, and that's totally fine. And I think one of the biggest things that I had to learn is rejection, and to not take it so personally, because although it's a personal item that you make yourself and you're putting yourself out there, people can eat it and not like it, and people can eat it and they can critique it however they want. And I think that was one of the biggest reasons why I never went to culinary school right after high school. Although I loved competing, I loved all that stuff. There was a competition that I did, one of the student competitions where we competed, and we were being critiqued, and it just, I felt like we won, but at the end of the day we didn't. We got second place, and I felt like there was some bias there because one of the judges was a teacher at one of the schools, so I felt like,
Oh, that's super biased.
it's super biased, right? I don't know, I just felt like that wasn't fair, but it made me think about critics that come into your restaurant and everything else, and and they can just say whatever they want and then print it and it's true, it's their truth. So
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I'm always like that. I've been there before because I remember when I got it was like for my first competition, and it was ACF in college.
mhm.
Um, it was not like, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It's not like you're competing against other people. It's like you have to meet a certain criteria to get a medal. It's more like a
Mhm.
test than a
Okay, okay.
like, I came in thinking I was competing against other people,
Hmm.
and I found out I was the only person in that category, and I was like, this is weird. So like
Yeah, that is
to get
weird.
a bronze medal and be like the only one in the category, it's kind of like, what? But to actually medal on your first time is pretty difficult.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
but it was like, but I felt like the critiques they had were not, it didn't have to do with like my technique or
Right,
my cleanliness or my,
right.
like the things. It was like personal preference. And I
Yes.
think that when you're being a judge of food, especially, you need to say like for instance, like banana pudding, right?
Yeah.
If I like banana pudding, but if I didn't like banana pudding and I was tasting banana pudding, I would still have to taste it and go like, I don't like banana pudding, but
But
is
yeah.
this good for what it is? Like if
Hmm.
I if someone who liked banana pudding who tasted this, would they be like, this is amazing? Like
Hmm.
that's where you have to
Yes.
be like, take yourself out of it when you're
Hmm.
judging anything. I try to do that. But
Yeah, I know. I agree, and that's the thing. Like with certain puddings that I have, it's like although I don't like Nutella, for myself, I'm like, is this still good? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And with the vegan, it's just like, okay, although I love this stuff. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, is this good to someone who is vegan, or is this good like period? So I had a lot of people like tasting it, and a lot of times I would lie. Well, not lie. I would just withhold the truth until they tasted it. Obviously I asked if they have any allergies. They say no. And I was like, hey, do you want to try out this new flavor? I'm like, it's kind of tastes like a gingerbread cookie, shortbread cookie, like Teddy Grahams. And then they
Yeah.
eat it. And I was like, that's vegan. And they're like, oh, I would have never tasted it if you told me it was vegan, because they have this preconceived notion of what it should taste like because it's vegan. So
That drives me crazy too, because like I'm if you've seen my channel before, I'm not a fan of the vegan diet.
yeah,
However,
yeah, yeah.
um, I feel like vegan food gets a bad rep
It does.
because I think it's very people think like whenever it's a diet fad,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's like the bar is lower because it's a diet
Yes.
food,
Yes.
and that shouldn't be the case because
No,
vegan just means it's vegetables or it's
exactly.
it's
Plant
plant-based.
based. Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's not, but also like it doesn't mean it's healthier because
No,
Biscoffs obviously are not healthy, but they're
no,
delicious.
not at all. Not at all.
So it just it drives me crazy because it's like I think one of the places where vegan food fails is when it's trying to be something it's not. And I think that
Yes.
anytime, like when it's trying to be meat, like just don't do that.
Yeah. And it was actually crazy because at the market, one of the vendors, she sells a um a vegan crab cake. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I want any of that, because I if you're just a patty and you're just being a patty, a vegan veggie patty, vegan patty, whatever, fine. But if you're trying to be like, I was like, you can't recreate a meat. Like it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And when I tell you that was the most delicious vegan thing I've ever had in my entire life, and yeah, I every Sunday I try to get one of those at least. Like
Yeah, I
it's
had it too, and I was excited about it because I'm actually really allergic to shellfish.
oh
Um,
wow.
but I when I my allergy started when I was around 12. So I've
Mhm.
had like crab legs were like my favorite thing in the world
Oh
before that.
no.
And
Heartbreak.
yeah, so I was like maybe I'll get like the flavors of a crab cake, like like the Old Bay and like, garlicky butter.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't taste, it was delicious, but it didn't taste anything like a crab cake.
No, no, it didn't. It just was delicious on its own. Because
Yeah,
I think she used like hearts of palm and artichoke. So
there's cabbage in there for sure.
I
That's
didn't go into it like, I was just like, okay, let's try it. And I think one of the biggest sellers is there was a lady who sells conch out there, and she went and
yeah.
purchased it. And I was just like, if you're selling that and you're coming over here, this has to be good. And it was absolutely amazing. So yeah, that was absolutely one of my favorite vegan things I've ever tried. And it shows that vegan food can be tasty. And like I mentioned earlier, it's juicy. It's in Northwood. It's vegan, and I believe the owner, she's Dominican. So when you go in and you smell you can smell in the air, like it smells seasoned, like it smells like there's spices and herbs, and I was just like, oh, I already know the food's gonna be awesome. Like I saw someone else's food and I thought they were eating like chicken, and they're like, oh no, this is fried cauliflower. I'm like, but that looks really good though. So I went right over there, and yeah, I got a cauliflower taco, which was awesome. But yeah, in my stories, I try to share like food adventures and local people that I like and that I try, and yeah, I've always loved mom and pop type shops and stuff like that. So I just love experimenting with food. I love trying food. Like I said, I grew up with the chef as a dad, so I was definitely blessed because I got a lot of exposure and eating different types of things.
So were they teaching you how to cook before culinary class?
No, my mom, she was that type of woman that just cooked every day. That no one else cooked in the house. That was her kitchen. You cooked, you ate. Like she cooked, you ate it. That was it. And that was another thing growing up in that household, because I eating fast food, that was That was a celebration. That means that it was your birthday and we got to eat Burger King or McDonald's or pizza. Like it had to have been someone's birthday. Like that was it. It was not like, oh, mom doesn't feel like cooking. It's like that was never a thing for me. Like mom doesn't, she cooks every day. That's what she does. So for me, I grew up the same, like, you know, in my household, like I love cooking and I like challenging myself. The thing is, I don't cook Haitian food because I never, although I sat there and watched my mom, I still never mastered how to do any of those things. They never taste anything remotely close to her. So I just know the basics. But I definitely experiment with all types of food. Like I love Italian food. And yeah, during the quarantine, that's when like I like sharpened up my chef's knives and I was like, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna try and master every, like not every, but like some of my favorite dishes. You know, so I was watching YouTube videos and learning how to make stir fry. I bought a wok. I'm like, I'm gonna make official stir fry. Okay.
I
You
just
know,
got a wok too because I was so
yeah.
tired of making fried rice in my saute pan because I would try
Mhm.
to make so much that it would always
It
just
would clump and steam and get, yeah, all over the, yeah, it was,
yeah.
a wok makes such a difference. And yeah, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna master stir fry. And then like those ribs that are like red, like I was like, I gotta figure out how to make those like bright red ribs. And I was like, it's food coloring? Oh, okay. I had no idea it was food coloring that made it so red. I was like, I thought it was like something like
My
special.
boyfriend, he'll make he likes to make guava ribs. So that
Oh,
makes it red and it does that's really good. You should
that
try it
does
out.
sound good. Yes.
So he does the sweet and sour because he likes to cook too. So he does
Okay, cool.
sour with like his idea came from like that the Chinese like sweet and sour
Yeah,
short
yeah, yeah.
but
The
then
short
instead
ribs.
of the food dye, he was like, "Oh, let's add some guava in here." And it's really good.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like to do things that are just different. And the other day when I did what did I make? I think I did carne asada and I made this chipotle and like, you know, I bought the peppers, I roasted it, I blended it. It was just awesome. I was like so proud of myself. I was, you know, I have like some amazing women that I've met along the way that have also exposed me to food. And one her she's married to a Cuban, and I always call her Mama Kodo. And you know, she's Caucasian, but like that's Mama Kodo to me. And she exposed me to like sushi and like Greek food and all this other stuff that I would have never thought I would have eaten just growing up in my Haitian community. You know, eating Haitian food every day. And I made something. I think yeah, I made some chipotle sauce and I added barbecue sauce to it, and I thought I was genius. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the best. It was like the sweet and spicy. But there was one time I made Cuban sandwiches and I like went to the Cuban bakery, bought the bread. I like, you know, I cooked the meat, slow roasted, all that stuff. And like, you know, everything was just like as authentic as I possibly could be. And she commented, she's like, good job. And I was like, yay. Anytime I get like a pat on the back from anybody of that culture, because when I cook, it's out of respect, it's out of acknowledgement. You know, I understand that I did not create any of these recipes. I just respect your culture. I love your, you know, I love your food, and I just want to learn how to make it. But I always end up doing a twist, like every time. Like you were mentioning this sofrito when you were talking to I forget his name. It was the other gentleman on your that you interviewed on your podcast. And in Haitian culture, we have a sauce, a green sauce that he mentioned.
Oh, the
Um,
Trinidad guy,
yeah, the Trinidad guy.
Yeah.
In Haitian culture, we have something very similar. It's called epis, and they sell it. That
Called
food,
what? Sorry, you broke up.
epis, EPIS, epis,
Hippies. Okay.
epis, and it is a mixture of like peppers, like green peppers, scallions, habanero or Scotch bonnet peppers, garlic. It's, you know, mojo. Like it's just a mixture of citrus and vegetables, and you literally add that to everything. Every meat that we cook, sometimes rice. Yeah, like rice and beans. It's in our, you know, black bean sauce. It's just a topping for everything. So a lot of times I'll make these foods, but I still add a little Haitian. I call my food Haitian-ish, where it's like a little touch of Haitian culture. Like I just
Fusion, you know? You gotta that's the thing
yeah.
I like about cooking too, it's like thank God it hasn't gotten to the point where it's like people are like that's cultural appropriation
Appropriation, yeah. Hmm.
because there's a difference between trying to steal someone's idea and then like paying homage to it. And I think
Yes.
the best way to unite everyone is to allow people to experience other people's cultures.
Exactly, exactly. It to me, it's never appropriation when you acknowledge where the source came from, and I
Yeah.
think that's where the biggest issue is, where people will take something and they're just like, "Yeah, I created this and I made this and it's my thing," and it's just like, no, actually, it has origins, beyond you, and that's what I mean. Like with Taco Tuesday, some people have mentioned they're like, "Oh, don't you think it's appropriation?" And I'm like, no, because I definitely say what inspired me. I definitely, like or I'll go to a restaurant. And I'm like, okay, I had the burrito tacos at a restaurant, and I'm like, I'm gonna go home and recreate this. And and it was a popular um there's a term for it. It's a taco place, but it's a popular Mexican cantina. It's a popular Mexican cantina, and I was just like, yeah, I definitely want to learn. I just I watched video after video, and I tell people like my videos aren't as good as yours. Like, you have like the whole kitchen set up. I literally just like show all the ingredients and then next step. I don't do anything live. You know what I mean?
These all on Patreon?
No, these are just videos that I've just did, but I'm going
I
to
only
start
see
adding.
one on YouTube. I'm like, where are these videos?
Yeah, that's more on my personal page because because it's savory, so I wasn't sure if I should put them on my Patreon because it really is not really pudding. But I do want people to know that I do cook, and there is another side of tea. There is a savory side that
Are you
I
gonna
love.
do some savory pastries?
I did hear you talk about tamarind, and I was like, I'm like, I feel like I have not. Hmm. Now you got me thinking.
Or something that maybe you'd be interested in experimenting with? So obviously it's another pudding, but so rice pudding,
Yes.
right? But I've never been to a boule before, and I went to my first boule, I don't know, a week ago or so,
Hmm.
because I don't really eat out. Like
Right.
it'd be
Right.
like an emergency. But um, they had this black rice there,
Yes, I've seen that. Hmm.
and I tasted it, and I was like, "This isn't savory." It's like kind of like the sweet potato. I was like,
Hmm.
"It tastes like straight up chocolate."
Hmm.
I'm gonna do a video, an experiment of a chocolate rice
Mm.
pudding with that, but I think it would be a great vegan rice pudding with coconut milk.
Oh, that sounds good. You're
So
making
I
me
don't
hungry. I haven't had lunch yet, so I was just like,
like this is gonna be a good person to like think about that with because
yes,
you're the pudding queen. But
yes. People have definitely asked me like, when are you going to launch rice pudding? So, um, you know, I, I haven't decided yet. It might be,
tapioca.
yes, of course. So I don't know. It's in the works. I play around with a lot of things. Like one, I want to do like a cheesecake pudding with red velvet pieces inside. So like, yeah. So I'm always thinking of new things, and even when I do my Survey Monkey, where people can, I leave a space where you can put where it's other, where people can recommend things, and someone mentioned key lime, so obviously a little more tart than what my other puddings are, but yeah, I'm definitely open to. I love sweet and savory, like chicken and waffles, and all of those things. Sweet and savory is just my jam. So
Talking
I
about the
definitely.
Cuban food, and I just love going to I mean it's not just Cuban, but like Cuban cafes, and you have like the guava cheese pastries and the empanadas and the coffee and
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
It's so good. That's the one good thing about Florida is you have all that.
Oh yeah, it is awesome. I can't say that. Like it is definitely very very multicultural, and I do love the hubs, like how there's little central areas, so it's more authentic when you go into little Haiti and get our bread that we have, just like Cubans have their bread, like Haitians have our bread, where we rip and then we eat. like we dunk in our
What kind of?
coffee.
I've never had Haitian bread. It's
Oh yeah, I'll definitely have to
like,
bring you some.
yeah,
It's denser because obviously the French did colonize and Spain did too. So we have a lot of pastry influence.
yeah.
Even our patties that are how Jamaican patties are like orange and shape. Our patties are more. It's made out of phyllo dough, so it's more like flaky and like
Oh, interesting.
yeah, yeah. So like obviously it's influenced by that. So our bread is just denser, it's long, it's so good obviously when it first comes out, and I'll definitely just bring you a loaf because
Parents still have
yeah.
the restaurant, or
No, when they separated, they sold the restaurant. So yeah, that was tough for me because it's like obviously I was still in high school when that happened. So it's just yeah, it's like, oh, I never got to, sell these pastries there, but it's totally fine. Like, at the end of the day, they made the best decision for them. And, I've been talking to my mom about getting my own location. And she's like, yeah, I'm down to help and everything. So it's just like, oh, we're, back in the kitchen again together. So I'm just super excited for where Tasty's Pastries is going to take me. And yeah, like it's awesome. Like my parents are really proud, and I'm very grateful because watching them, they came to this country first generation Haitian Americans, and they built a life for us and me and my siblings. There's a bunch of us, and yeah, we lived a really great life. Had a really great childhood, and yeah, so I just want to be able to spoil my parents and take care of them and, do what everybody wants to do, retire your parents. And, so that's what my goal is with Tasty's Pastries. This nationwide brand is to, take care of the family and leave a legacy. Like my dad has always talked about us leaving a legacy. My last name is Giffard, but Giffois in French, in Creole. And we come from a long line of very influential people in Haitian culture, abolitionists, philosophers. Like it's a long line of just amazing people, and who helped with the revolution and everything. So with us, there's a street named after us. Like we have a like after our last name. So it's a very prestigious last name to have. So I want to make sure that I bring honor to our name and bring honor to our family, and yeah, and make sure that the kids and the grandkids, like the nieces and nephews are already working with me, but to make sure that they see me doing this, and it inspires them that they can do the same thing. Watching my parents own a restaurant, knowing that they came from where they came from, it showed me that it's possible, especially if I have an American education, I'm born here and everything else. Like I had that much more advantage than they did.
yeah.
And so
And
my nieces and
financial
nephews,
freedom is real freedom. You know what I
oh, it
mean?
absolutely is. It absolutely is.
So
So, there's a lot of, and learning how to, the grants and all the stuff that my parents didn't know about, or, they did the best they could with the money that they saved and scraped. And, you know, so I definitely can say the pandemic was a help because now there's more help and support for small businesses. And, there's more grants and stuff that are out there and stuff. So it's actually helped me grow and expand the pandemic, surprisingly.
yeah, I mean that's the thing too. Like I feel like they don't. It's something they should be teaching in high school,
Yes.
and they don't. They don't teach you how to do your taxes. They don't teach
No.
you. They don't teach you anything about S corp versus LLC
Yeah.
or
Oh,
anything like that. And how are you gonna like? I feel like it's almost like detrimental to innovation because
I agree.
if we don't support America, like create more American businesses or inspire other people to, or just give them, one of the things I always think about, we had to take psychology
Hmm.
in college, even though we were studying cooking. So there we
Yeah,
go.
it's always mandatory for you to take
Yeah, but
it.
they talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So You got to make sure you have food, water, and shelter before you
Mm-hmm.
can think about anything else, really.
Yep.
And there's so many people out there that that's all they're thinking about, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so you're just surviving instead of thriving. And I'm just trying to figure out, for myself, how do I get to that point, and then how do I help other people get to that point? Because it's not going to make, if we all stay in that category,
Mm-hmm.
if we don't go higher up the pyramid,
Yep.
then China wins. Like,
Yeah. And that's what how we mentioned before about the way the streets are designed. The streets are designed for more car sales. Like everything is geared toward that, because obviously us having a bike culture versus a car culture, it costs more money to have a car and insurance and everything else. And it's like a lot of these things are designed for a reason. They want to have workers. You know what I mean? Like that's how you keep the wealth at the top. It's
yeah,
because you keep having this working class. And I watched my dad have two jobs and everything else. And I can't say that we struggled. Like I said, we had a good life, but with me now that I have education, now that I know better, now I want I shouldn't have the same struggles that my parents did. So, and my kids shouldn't have that same struggle. So I saw something that pretty much said, teach your kids what you should have learned. And, so I'm educating myself about stocks. I'm educating myself about, like the S Corp. And like, I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know how to file taxes. I didn't, and there's a lot of adulting things that they don't teach you. And I feel like that's by design. It's by design. And it does suck, but the biggest thing about my parents and our generation is we have all this information, so to be ignorant is by choice. So there's a lot of free education out there. There's a lot of people that are on TikTok and YouTube, and a lot of content creators that are out there that are sharing secrets. And okay, yeah, you may have to invest and take a class or whatever the case may be, but there's no reason to stay at a certain level if you have the resources. Some people are at a disadvantage. They don't have laptops, they don't have the technology, they don't have access to these things, and I can understand that. But if you do have a cell phone, then it is by choice, because you can
oh
still
yeah.
access a lot of these things.
And I
I've
see a lot
submitted
of people.
assignments on my phone. So
I see a lot of people down here that like there was a big mentality shift. I feel like
mhm.
when I came from up north down here. Down here, I noticed like the wealth income gap is huge
Huge,
down here
huge.
because of
Absolutely.
main industries like tourism, basically.
Yes.
So, but I noticed that mindset of um, materialism, I guess, like
Hmm.
people
Hmm.
want things.
Yes.
And if you look at rich people, like they don't buy things, they invest in things.
Yes.
Here's the difference. So I just like I'm trying to, you know, like when I talk to people, I'm like, what? Like,
The mindset. Yeah.
why are you
It,
buying, $1,000 worth of jewelry when you could invest in your business?
mhm.
Like things like that. And I'm just like, especially when it's a pandemic and like the resources are small.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a mindset thing. So it's like if they're not educated to know, that some people would rather just look good than to actually be stable. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
want to look stable, but not actually be financially stable. And yeah, that does come from, trying to impress people around them. And, the biggest thing is for you to grow, you have to be around people that are that you aspire to be like, or you have to, a lot of people, they say social media is toxic, or they say, and I feel like it's not toxic, it's the people that you follow.
Yeah, it
You know,
depends on what you click on, because then
it
you have
depends.
if you just click on, even if you didn't mean to, you know what I mean? Like they're especially young kids, like maybe you do see like something flashy and you click on it and you're like, oh, that's cool.
Hmm.
But then it's like that same thing keeps popping up.
Oh
And then
yeah, ads and everything. Yeah.
because you have that echo chamber, and then you're
Mhm.
still in that echo chamber of the important things are life or the fancy car and the, you know what I mean? Instead
Right.
of having something pop up that's like, think about it this way instead. And that I think
Right.
that's why social media is toxic, not because of the content that's on there. It's the content that where it, it gives you tunnel vision basically. And because you're on your phone, you think everyone's seeing the same thing that you're seeing.
No. Yeah. No, I can understand that. For me, I guess I choose to follow like people that I aspire to be. So like even if ads do come up and everything else,
Well, not even
I
that. I'm not talking about ads. I'm talking about the suggestion, for instance, like YouTube, right?
mhm.
Um, or Instagram. Hold on. Right, what do you want? You want to get coffee? Noel's got to get some coffee.
Oh, sounds good.
All right, you can come out, but you gotta say hi.
Hi.
Morning.
Morning. I was thinking about doing a tiramisu pudding. So the fact that you said coffee, I'm like,
I can help you with that. You gotta
with the
lady
lady
fingers.
fingers, with yeah, dipped in coffee and the pudding on top.
Yeah, I mean it's expensive, but the flavor is mascarpone cheese.
Mm-hmm.
So it's expensive though. I don't know.
It is. It is. I mean, there are some of my puddings are, my normal ones are about 6, and the higher end ones are 8. Like the rum and the vegan are 8. So if I have to,
No,
the whole
I
thing,
just think per ounce that might you could probably just do a vanilla pudding.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna do a vanilla pudding, but add a little mascarpone. Like I don't have to do the whole thing mascarpone.
Mascarpone doesn't, it's more of a it doesn't really have a lot of flavor, to be honest with
Oh,
you.
okay. So people wouldn't even notice that's not there.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
it's more like the texture, because it's more like it's like a super light cream cheese, basically.
Yep.
So yeah, because then it's if it's tiramisu flavored and not supposed to be tiramisu, then you get away with it. And you get
Yeah.
masala wine. That's the other secret ingredient.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not just
I
coffee.
think I've only made it like twice, and that was like in high school. But I liked it. I'm not really a coffee drinker, but I sometimes like coffee flavored things. If that makes sense. I'm
Oh
strange.
yeah, but there's my father was a pilot, and he wanted to write this. He never did it, but he wanted to write this book. He would go every place he went in the world. He would have tiramisu because they would
Mhm.
make it different everywhere he went, and he just wanted to make like a book of the tiramisu of the world.
I like that.
And when I was a kid, there was like a period of time where me and my brother would try to do impressions of like anything, like all the accents and stuff. So he had come back from Nebraska, and I just assumed people from Nebraska talk with a southern accent because I was like 8 or something. And he's like, "Oh, and I had tiramisu. I wanted to get tiramisu, but they didn't have any tiramisu." So I was like, "Yeah, they were probably like, tiramisu, what? You want some ice cream? How about some pie? We got apple or pecan." And then they're like, they just like, they're dying. Like my dad, like I never saw him laugh so hard.
Terrible what?
It's like, where do you come up with this? Like I had like a whole skit about like him like going into basically like a diner, like asking for
And that's good. Yeah, that does sound like I wouldn't expect Nebraska to have tiramisu, but
but
that's pretty funny.
yeah, it was funny. But then when I became a flight attendant, I would anytime they had a tiramisu, I was like, I gotta get the tiramisu.
You gotta live the dream.
Yeah.
Oh,
But they make it different everywhere. So
yeah.
pretty cool. They do a lot of deconstruction of like lady fingers and
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. Can you hear him?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear it. I hear it.
It's like get out.
I was gonna say that. I was just like, and then I fall into my chair. Oh man.
Bye.
Bye. But yeah. I mean, obviously, I appreciate you reaching out to me because this is super cool, and I love I watched your videos and everything else in your interviews, so that's cool. I love the fact that you're educational. Like I said, one of the first things that made me fall in love with food, because I just always thought it was magic. Like watching my mom, I was like, that's magic, that's witchcraft. I don't know. But like it was watching Alton Brown from Good Eats, and he would break everything down to a molecular level, and he's like, weighing things out, and I'm like, oh, there's like actual there's a basis to things, like watching my mom, it was just like, how does she even know that she needs, like she would just know, like, you know what I mean? And it's just like watching him, it's like, so this is the method of doing it, but you can always, like, and I was like, oh, okay, so there's a basis, and then you learn from there. So that made baking more obtainable to me, because for me, baking, I don't like math, I don't like fractions, I don't like any of that. So baking was just like a no-go. I was like, I liked cooking because I was like, yeah, you can just put a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then, bam, you can taste it throughout. But with baking, it's a lot harder because the fact that you can't taste sometimes, you don't know that you messed up until it comes out of the oven, for me. And I don't know if you have that issue, but there was one time I was just like, I made banana bread and it comes out and I was like, oh, this looks good, and I sliced it and I eat it and I'm like, tastes off. And I see the ripe bananas on the counter and I'm like, I just made bread. I didn't make a banana bread. Like, but it looked fine. Like when I made it, when I stirred it, I just, and then there was one time I made sugar cookies with no sugar. Like these are spacey moments for me. Okay. Like, but I don't know. Maybe I was distracted, but at the end of the day, it was just like, I look at the cookies, and I'm just like, yeah, these look good. They come out, I bite them, and it's just ready. And I'm like, shoot, it's, so for me, it's like with cooking, you can kind of tell throughout the process that there's something up or that you need to do something. But with baking,
you can fix it afterwards. With baking, like one time I like when I was a kid, I made all the pies for Thanksgiving, and we used the Libby's pumpkin pie recipe.
Yep.
We can, and I forgot to put the eggs in.
Oh yeah.
And I put it in, but like I remembered, it was probably in the oven for like 10 minutes, maybe. Not even like. So the outside was like.
Yep, it started crusting. Yeah.
I dumped the filling out, and then I tried to mix the eggs back in, and it works because I was watching Good Eats at one point.
Okay.
So I knew you had to temper eggs.
Yes.
So I had to stir it while I did it.
Yes.
But it was like when you cut it, it was just like you saw like the crust of like the shit that like stayed there.
Yeah. Like the pre-crust, what was building. Yeah. So there's a separation. Yeah.
I was just like, what happened here?
Don't worry about that. But yeah, baking seemed intimidating to me. And, obviously, sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. And, sometimes with cooking that happens with me. I'd make something or I'd try a new recipe and I'm like, that didn't work exactly the way I wanted to, but now I know what not to do. And that's the biggest thing. It's a learning lesson. So, everything's not going to be perfect. And yeah, so I just try not to be too hard on myself or take other people's critiques so hard too. Cause like we were mentioning that before, everybody's opinion and everybody's, just like the tiramisu, everybody has their own belief of what it should taste like or what it should look like. And it's
especially with something so traditional, like they'll let you know you're wrong,
Yes. I had one lady, she was from the South. And she was just like, oh yeah, let me try your South Florida banana pudding. And I was like, what? And I was just like, I was like, it's banana pudding. She's like, nah, I'm from the South. This is South Florida banana pudding. And I was just like, you can't get any further south than Florida, right? It's like, no, we're from the real South. And I'm like, okay, okay.
The northern South.
I'm not gonna keep arguing with you. Okay, geographically, I understand. Okay, I understand. Technically, you're considered the South. We're not, but fine. So she tried it and she loved it. She's like, okay, I've never had a pudding like this, but this is actually really good. And I was like, okay, thank you. But it was a big thing because someone from
what was her pudding?
Because traditionally banana pudding is supposed to be layered. So the fact that mine just swirled, it's just like, oh, you're doing it wrong. But I'm like, it's still the same thing. It's just like
a different container.
It's just a different container. Yeah. It's just not served out of, and scooped
it's
out.
Not a parfait or whatever.
Not a parfait. Exactly. And I think that's what she was. But I'm like, it's still all the same ingredients, But she liked it and she enjoyed it. She bought some, her and her friend bought some. And it's funny because although they were expecting the traditional banana pudding, they ended up buying one of the remix flavors. They bought the Jamaican spiked rum. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, you didn't even buy a banana pudding. You bought one of the other puddings. So I just thought that was kind of funny. But yeah.
My favorite was when, like, at the market, it's Chef Grace's place.
Yes.
But like, where is Chef Grace's place? You're here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Make sure to wipe your feet at the mat. Like it's should get it bad.
They're always trying to that market. They're always trying to give. It's like the old rich boat people.
Mm-hmm.
They're always trying to give you advice. It's so funny.
Oh yeah, I get advice on the regular. Some very good. Some not so good. I've definitely gotten some suggestions about flavors that I would never do.
What's the craziest thing you've ever suggested?
What was it? It was just a combo of two things that I don't particularly like. What was it? There's a few things I don't like, but I think it was mint. People love mint ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of mint ice cream.
Listen, I love chocolate chip mint ice cream, but I don't think mint would be good in a pudding, to be honest.
I don't think so either.
Especially like a thick cornstarch, it's such a thick texture that like something like mint would be like toothpaste.
Yeah, and that's what I think of when I think of mint flavored things. I think toothpaste. So
there's like a super fine line between like sweet mint and toothpaste. Like there's
yeah, because it's like people love thin mints and everything else, and the Klondike. Is it Klondike bars that have the? I don't know. It's one of them. Is it? It's one of those candies or whatever. But it's just
the Andes mints. I hate Andes mints. They taste like toothpaste.
Yeah, I think so.
The ones with the little mountain on it.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I hate those things.
Yeah, no.
People love them, and I'm like, these are disgusting.
Yeah, I know. Candy corn. I had someone with that, and I was like, yeah, your face right there.
Now imagine these like old people at the market, like candy corn.
Yeah, just imagine, because obviously I was talking about fall flavors. They're like, oh yeah, you should do a candy corn. Well, oh, you mean the worst candy ever invented, like that? But I don't say that. Obviously has to give him a sweet smile. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, no, not candy corn. No. You mean like wax? Like I don't. You might as well tell me to put the circus peanuts in there. Are you crazy? Like, no.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, those are freaking that's like the styrofoam that they used to fill your like Amazon boxes. Like, no, I don't want that in my food. Thank you. And if you love any of those things, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you were born with taste buds. I'm kidding. Okay. I'm kidding. I'm just saying that's not my preference.
Have you ever tried it was like big when I was a kid. It was they called it dirt, but it wasn't dirt.
Yes.
Yeah. And just,
Yep.
that would be good for spring because you can make it look like a little garden thing, you know? They used to do like
That's
the gummy worms in it with the Oreo
hmm
crumbs and the chocolate pudding. That shit was good. And they would do
it is.
the beach version with the Teddy Grahams and the,
With the little rings. Yes. That's where the Oreo cookies and cream was inspired from the dirt pudding. So it's the vanilla pudding with Oreo cookies and cream candy. So like when people eat it, they're like, "Oh, this reminds me of my dirt," and they're like, "Yeah," but in a good way, good dirt. Good dirt. The traditional dirt, I think it's chocolate pudding. So I do mine with vanilla, so you can actually see like the Oreo pieces inside.
I like the,
But
I mean, my favorite puddings were like the Jello. I don't know if they were Oreo or whatever, but it was like the chocolate,
with the
melted
swirl,
chocolate.
yes,
That was my
yes, absolutely. That's right there. We're right here, okay? Because yeah, that was my favorite. Like I don't want so I want the swirl where you can like see little squiggly. I want that. I love that. So yeah, and that's what I talk about. So it's like everybody knows of the pudding. Yeah. So I where I got the frozen idea from because a lot of people say that they don't like pudding texture. So I was just like, oh yeah, if you freeze it, you can eat it like ice cream. Like I didn't know you could do that. I was like, yeah. So I saw a recipe because I grew up watching Zoom, and I don't know, I don't know. It was like I was born in the '80s, so like it was a show that like these kids they did like all these little crafty things or whatever, and one of the things I think they got a pudding cup. Maybe it was from Zoom. They got a pudding cup. They put a popsicle stick inside, put it in the freezer, and then like took off the popsicle like after it froze and just ate the pudding like a popsicle. And I was like, you can do that? Like it just blew my mind. So I was like, that kind of stuck in my head. And to preserve the pudding since they are fresh and Cool Whip is frozen. So obviously after a couple days, the Cool Whip starts to defrost and it makes the pudding watery. So to combat that, you can freeze the puddings and eat them just like ice cream. And so yeah, I suggest that. And so I tested it out myself. I froze one and I ate it. I'm like, this tastes freaking delicious. So there's no need to defrost it. So I was like, yeah, you can just freeze all the puddings. So yeah.
And I'm wondering if you put it in an ice cream machine, if it would,
How would it be?
how would it be? Because you're basically just going to incorporate air that way and make the ice
Yeah,
cream smaller. So I think that would be cool. I don't, it might be more like a mousse, honestly.
probably because it's
Frozen.
really fluffy already. Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be cool. But the pudding pop, I love pudding. Who doesn't love a pudding pop?
Who
Come on.
doesn't love pudding pop? But
Come on.
yeah, you'd be surprised. There's tons of people, and even when
The
they're like, I don't even
people
like,
that like candy corn, those are the people that don't.
and that's why I sell bottled water. They're like, oh no, I don't like any of them. I'm like, why sell bottled water? And then they're like, all right, well, we like bottled water. So there's always something for you to buy.
Yeah, especially there, it's so hot. And that was another thing too. Like I didn't expect, like you sell for people listening, she sells out. Like you're one of the few people at the market, I think, that you sell out constantly. And
Grateful.
but yeah, it's awesome because that's not a super busy market, so they're
No.
definitely coming to see you, you know.
Yeah.
And the I didn't like when I was like pudding, like to me like it's not like I love pudding, but it's not something
Right.
I want to eat like on the beach. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
No.
But it
Mm-hmm.
works.
It does. It does.
It works. It's like,
It,
oh,
yeah. It's just light enough that you feel like that moussey dessert texture that you want. It's just sweet enough because I don't add any additional sugar besides whatever I add. So obviously peanut butter has its own sugar. Peanut butter chips has its own sugar. So I don't add anything in addition to that. But yeah, it just works. And I was a little surprised by it too because I'm like, this is popular for an event, but like when I would make a whole dish for Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever. But I'm like, but to sell as individual puddings, like, can I do that? And I see puddings in stores, so I have to tell myself if someone else can do it, like
yeah, you can do it.
you
And
can do it.
I think the fact that it's cold, you know,
Yes,
it's like it works
it's
perfect.
refreshing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
perfect. And then you have,
yeah.
I mean, it is sweet, so to have the water too, like
Mm-hmm.
those marketing skills, you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely try to hone in on everything that I learned. I think I still should have paid more attention to the financial accounting in those business classes because, like I said, numbers are not my favorite. Like I love the creating and the branding and the networking. But yeah.
And there's this, we had like the most, we had accounting in school, and it was, they used this book called The Lemonade Stand.
I feel like okay, yeah, you can keep going. That sounds a little familiar,
It
but keep
was
going.
it was basically like it was an accounting textbook based off the idea of running your own lemonade stand and starting at a lemonade stand and then building that into like a lemonade corporation. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Which was like a which is it was just a hilarious book, but it was very. I feel like when you learn about accounting, it seems very overwhelming.
Yes.
And I think just the concept of that kind of helped like break it down into smaller bits and made it less intimidating.
Yeah.
So I think
I,
it's called the lemonade stand, but it was
I,
really
I think I remember it because not the book. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos and everything, and they keep using the lemonade stand as an example. And I feel like when I was in school, I was just like I said, I was born and raised here, so I feel like our school system obviously isn't really the best. And I feel like we
terrible.
just it's absolutely terrible. But I
It's
feel like
interesting that the colleges are good, but
yeah,
the high school, like the K through 12 or whatever, terrible.
it's terrible. And the worst part about it is like uh I feel like your AA is just reteaching you everything that you should have learned
What is
in
it?
high school. Like like you getting your associates, like
Oh,
your
your
prereq,
A. Okay.
yeah, your AA. Yeah, because it's a lot of times I'm like, I learned this already. I learned this already. I learned this already. But it's just like the fact that our schooling is so bad there, and everybody's coming from different schools, they have to really start from they have to start all over again. So you're taking college algebra, which, I know kids that are taking college algebra now that are doing college algebra in sixth, seventh grade, but yeah, I have to do it again when I'm in college because they have to make sure that I remember what it is. Because with us, growing up, we had FCATs, standardized testing, and we were just taught how to pass tests, but to relate the concepts to real life, that was where I feel like they failed us. And for me, even like accounting, like in college, I felt like I was just trying to pass. Like I just wanted to C's get degrees. I just wanted to get get the grade so I can, move on and, learn the stuff that I want to learn. But I feel like that was a detriment. I feel like, if they made it more practical, real life and, stuff like that, just like we mentioned with, learning how to do your taxes and everything else, if they made it, I feel like people are willing to learn if you make it digestible, like a good eats. Like if there was like a
Yeah.
good eats for like adulting, like a Bill Nye, the science guy for adulting, and like this is how you do this, and and people make these TikToks and stuff on everyday life. But if this was like part of the curriculum,
Oh yeah.
um,
I mean, I don't understand. Like the whole point of public school is to make you a good citizen.
right,
So if I don't like one of the main things about being a citizen is paying your taxes.
right,
So, and also when it comes to taxes is one of the pillars of accounting. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean?
mm-hmm,
So it's just like, why wouldn't, if the problem I think is when you jump into accounting, it's just like those kids that didn't learn algebra in seventh and eighth grade. You're starting from zero when you should have been starting from like, I understand all the personal banking and accounting. I should be doing it in my house already. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
And now how do I transition that to the business side? But it's not like that because they never teach you how to do it personally for yourself.
Right.
So
And
you have
it's
no
like,
foundation.
you can't expect a teenager to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch accounting videos and person like, you know what I mean? Like
I
there
grew up with
that's
one kid that I wonder, I don't know what happened to him, but I'm sure he's like a secret billionaire. But he was like, Oh, I got in high school, I got into AP economics and then I like dropped it so I could take cooking three. But he was like this kid that showed up, I guess since like middle school, he would read Forbes magazine like in school like every day. Like he was like a super investor kid. I don't know.
Oh,
Like
wow.
dressed the part, like he was always wearing like khaki pants. Everyone's just like, who is this kid? And he's like, I'm gonna be richer than all you guys.
And you're like, you're probably right. You're reading Forbes magazine, like, yeah, it's the mindset. It's a mindset, and I don't know what
But his
his
parents
influence.
taught him that too. Like, not
Exactly.
everybody has that, you know?
No, and that's the thing, and not everybody realizes that everybody wants to feel like they've done their best as a parent. You know what I mean? So to know, so you feel like, okay, you've taught your child morals and values and stuff in the household, and then when they go to school, they should learn everything else. And it's like that's not how that works, because you're by the time the kids get settled, because like I told you, my original major was early childhood education, and it wasn't until I had because like for the longest everybody's like, oh, you should be a teacher, you're great with kids, you love kids, you have the personality, you're bubbly, all that stuff, until I went into the classroom and I was just like, no. Like, no, because I saw what teachers had to go through. I saw that they had to buy a lot of times their own materials. So like, and then kids are coming from different types of environments and households, and and you have to deal with all these personalities, you have to deal with hormones, you have to deal with people on the spectrum. And at that time they started incorporating inclusion. So now you have people on the spectrum in classes, because that's what's right, it's what's fair. But now you have people that have learning different learning, they have different levels of just learning. You have your static, like you have people who learn tactile, you have people that are more audio, people that are more visual. So it's a lot to have all that in the classroom, and then not having the class maximums too in South Florida, like compared to up north where the classrooms are a lot bigger, or like class sizes are a lot bigger.
What was your class size?
On average, you were looking at 20 to 30 kids.
Yeah, that was
and yeah, so it was, but it was just sitting in there. I was like, yeah, I don't think I could do this, and I don't feel like I'd be as fulfilled as I want to be. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I know a lot of
kids on the. I remember we had people with special needs, but we were lucky that they had an aide with them.
Right.
And I know that's not always the case.
No.
And
yeah.
what do you do when that kid's freaking out and you got 30 other kids in the class, all your resources of your attention can't just go to that one kid. It's not fair to the other kids.
Exactly. And, I remember prior to, my age group, like there was the No Child Left Behind. So there were a lot of people that were in that, age group that got diplomas that shouldn't have. Like, if you really think about it, like, and I've met and, conversed with some of these people, and I was just like, oh no, like, yeah, the school system definitely failed you. They passed you up because, they didn't know what else to do with you. What they should have done was just educate you. Yeah. Just push you forward, like, in life, and with their grade reading level. And it's just like, that's not fair. And, incorporate them with the skills that they need. Or give them the aftercare that they would need moving forward, and stuff like that. But it doesn't happen that way. So it was just really hard for me to watch and be a part of that. So if anything, like I feel like with Tasty's Pastries, I want to be a part of a lot of other things. I want to, be a philanthropist and help organizations, help kids, help, just whoever's in need, And one of the things that I wanted to do was actually hire, and when I actually do have a storefront, hire culinary students, who want to get their hands in, and and who have a background in cooking and understand the temperature danger zone and all those things. I want to help them, yeah, exactly. So
danger zone.
Yeah, like just all of those things that you would learn, the basic things that you would learn. and help them, kind of get their foot in the door in the industry, because, it tends to be harder when you're a culinary student, because normally one of the first jobs you start off is like dishwashing, or, you know what I mean? Like they don't really trust you to do, you know, cooking and baking and, and all those things or whatever. You kind of have to earn your stripes. So like, yeah, I definitely want to help people overall. I want to put a smile on people's faces. I want to help them. And Tasty's Pastries is my way of doing that.
All right. I think that's a good note to end on.
Yay.
14, but
Yeah, of course you're gonna drop all my stuff. So obviously follow me on Tasty's Pastries on Facebook, on Instagram. So it's the word taste, the letter T, which is me, apostrophe S, Pastries. So Tasty's Pastries on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'm working on my Patreon, adding more content there. That's hashtag Puddin Queen. And yeah, so make sure to, check me out, follow my page, see where I am. I exhibit from Lake Park to Lake Worth. And yeah, I hope to catch you guys out there. Make sure to leave some great suggestions for pudding flavors. I'm super interested. Definitely no candy corn. And just a joke. Yeah, so I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you having me on. This was fun. It was just very natural, and I really appreciate you reaching out, and can't wait to see more content coming from you.
yeah, I'm glad you came on.
Of
So,
course.
thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time at Chef Grace's Place.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.